Hello, my friends. We are super excited to have you today. Really quick, where is everybody from? If you want to put it in the chat, we'd like to know where you're from. I'm Janae Daniels with the School to Homeschool YouTube channel, and this is
Sherry Hayes.
So excited. Okay. I would love to know if you have any favorite coffee table books. I'm looking for an artist book that has several painters with full page renditions of paintings. I'd have to think about that one for a minute. Do you know any off the top of your head?
I know websites where you can just go and look at the pictures on your computer. Let's see, I'm thinking, it just went out of my head. The Art Renewal Center. But you have to be careful because they do have nudes in there. But that's the only thing. But they have beautiful, beautiful digitized, ancient, classic paintings. They're really into classic paintings. They're not into distortion or abstraction or anything.
Maybe
So they're really
neoclassical,
good.
postmodern art. Okay, it looks like we've got Texas, Florida, Washington State, Idaho. We're very excited for you all to have you on today. We're going to talk about planning for the fall. So let's just dive right in because we know your time is precious and we really appreciate you spending the hour with us.
So, my pleasure. I'm having fun.
Me too. Y'all didn't see us before. I was like, I'm so excited. We've never done this before. Okay. So Sherry, you've been at this for 40 years. I've been at this for seven, going on 7. What are the best ways that you found? We're just going to jump right in, y'all. What are the best ways that you start to plan for the fall?
Well, you have to kind of go from the basic and the general to the daily and the specific. So first off, you have to know where you want to go. Like, what are you trying to do? So if you have that settled, that makes it easier to then do the daily and more specific things. Okay. So, excuse me. So, I'm a very creative person and I can't allow myself to be nailed down to too much to just one thing at a time. I am crazy all over the place, but I still have to try to discipline myself because my kids are like, Mom, what are we doing next? And so, and so what I would try to do, I try not to plan more than like the max 3 months at a time, maybe 6 weeks at a time, because that allows us to cycle through different things. Now I have different ways that I homeschool my kids. Sometimes it's full on just academics. We are just concentrating on reading, writing, and arithmetic, and we might add maybe some a read aloud along with that, and Bible, of course. Then sometimes I might do a unit study. So what we do is we might pick something that we just want to learn about. Let's say that we want to know everything about Daniel Boone. So we'll do that for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and then we might switch to autodidacting for a while. And autodidacting basically is we have a meeting every morning where I do Bible and a read aloud, and we try to do math every day. And then they do whatever was in their minds to do. Okay, whatever they want to concentrate on. So I kind of would switch up with all those different things. And so for every 6 weeks or 3 months, that's how I would plan. And so one thing, like I said, every day, pretty much no matter what mode we were in, I would try to get Bible and prayer in every day. I would try to do a read aloud every day, and then make sure they touched on their math, even if it was just like going over the basic math facts, because that's so easy to lose. And then you lose momentum, and then you have to restart every time. So no matter what we were doing, those 3 things were in there. Now, after the priorities, then if I had time and energy, now that included a read aloud. I think I said that. I hope I did. And after the priorities were over, then I could add in these other things that we wanted to do, even if it's autodidacting where they're self-propelled to do what they want to do. But like if it was a unit study, or if we're doing strict academics, that would be like they were doing writing and all that kind of stuff. And along the way, sometimes I found that with the McGuffey readers, especially with the Charlotte Mason method applied to that, that could be one of the autopilot things. So So I have things that we would do. We would sit together and we would enjoy these things together, and I would make assignments. And there were the other things that especially the older kids could do on autopilot. So I didn't have to be sitting there and nursing them through everything, right? Um, also, with that, the younger kids, then I would concentrate on the areas they needed, such as the learning to read and learning handwriting, how to write in cursive or whatever, and also just basic math. The little kids tend to take more time at first. You have to really concentrate on those first. And then once you get them going, then they become older kids, and then you can put them more on autopilot, give them assignments while you're working with little kids. So
Love it.
anyway, those are some of the basic things I want to start. I'm open to questions though, of course. And I know that we want to get to multiple levels. If you're teaching a whole bunch, like little kids and they're, and you got older kids, Mom, I don't get this algebra problem. Right. And you're like, shh, I'm trying to read. Right?
Yeah, yep.
Okay.
Well, and I appreciate that I love that you call it autodidacting as opposed to unschooling, or, because
that's the thing.
I call it unschooling, but I actually hate that term because it sounds like not schooling, and that's
Yes.
and it's
Sounds like not learning.
Right. It sounds like not learning or not schooling.
And that's a bad association. I don't think it was originally intended to be that way, but I think autodidacting gives
so much
better. Because auto means do by yourself, right? Like an automobile. So autodidact means to learn, right?
Right.
So autodidact.
I love that.
Yeah.
So, and I appreciate that you do 3 months at a time or 6 weeks at a time. I find that the only things that I really schedule for the whole year are oh, we're doing this enrichment program, and yours is on Mondays and yours is on Fridays, and those are non-negotiable because we paid for them, or you are going it if you don't want to.
Yes.
And then we always make a list of what are the read alouds that we want to do this year, and we usually have at least 12, but usually have a lot more, because I'm like, we could do one a month, we could do that, but there's some that sometimes that if it's a slower book, it's taken 2 months, and I'm like, well, we tried.
Have you ever had those days where you start reading and you just can't stop, and everything else goes out the window because you have got to know what happens next?
We're reading Wonder right now, and that was yesterday. And I was like, we're going to be late, except just a little bit more. So what questions do we have? I love that somebody says, Twisted Peach Tree. I love Charlotte-based approach. We went all in at first. I am a first-time homeschooling mama. The 3 R's, read aloud and Bible. I just to foster a love of learning. Any suggestions? I would say, well, in my opinion, do less than more, especially at the beginning. I tried going all in when we first left the school system, and for those who watched my first episode of the podcast, no, it was a disaster, because we were trying to replicate school at home, and it's too much. I think it's too much for the brain. So for me, especially at the beginning, simplifying and sticking to 3 subjects at the beginning, or 2, even 1 subject. If you're like, if all we do this week is read, it will be a success. What do you think, Sherry?
Well, if we can teach our kids to read, write, and do arithmetic, they can pretty much do everything else on their own. Really, I mean, if they can read and write, and they understand basic math, the world's open to them. We don't have to try to teach them okay, we got to make sure that we cover this and we cover this and we cover that, because it's like the world is too big to make sure everybody gets everything done. No school, no private school, no classical education school ever claims that they teach kids everything they need to know. Really, what you're supposed to do is light a fire in your kids so they will want to learn it on their own, and build tastes, give them, instead of oh, we're just going to watch, comics and cartoons, and, my kids, when we went to the library, my kids always wanted to check out the Disney stories. And I'd say, no, you're not Disney. The dumbed down. I said, no, we're going to actually read good books. So I developed tastes, in them.
Oh, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that you also brought up was beginning with the end in mind, which I love that principle.
Mm-hmm.
Um, can you give an example for everybody
Okay.
of a time that you're like, okay, here's the end result that we want, or the end thing that we want? What did you do?
Okay. All right. So one thing my husband and I wanted to do is we wanted to, every person's journey to God is different, and God doesn't have grandchildren. But we wanted to make sure that we gave them every opportunity to know who God was and the basic tenets of the Christian faith, because we wanted to have that as their default. No matter what else they chose, it was going to be ingrained in them, right? So that's one of our end goals. Another end goal is that they wouldn't be jerks. Okay. No, that they would be.
I mean, it's fair. It's a fair. It's
Okay.
a fair thing. Yeah.
I mean, they're kind to people, even if they do other things, like, why are you doing this? Like, so they're still kind to people. They care for people. They take care of their things. They take care of other people. These are basic things we wanted them to know. Now, I know that doesn't sound like academic things, but if you are a jerk, it doesn't matter how smart you are. If you can't pay your bills, it doesn't matter how many classical books you've read. Okay.
Right.
So you want to make sure that they have a good work ethic and those kinds of things. Now, after that, we want to make sure that they're able to communicate, um, orally and written. We wanted to be good communicators. We wanted them to have the basic understanding of how the world works, about world history, U.S. history. We want to make sure that they had the better perspective, not the perspective that we've been fed lately, but the perspective that has a good picture of the good things in our country. So we wanted to have these basic things and wanted to be able to inculcate positive, good, godly character in them. That was our end goal. So what that did is that means that when we were choosing books to read aloud or choosing curriculum to use, if that didn't fit into this parameter that we had set, then we wouldn't use it. So almost everything the public school offers, we couldn't use it. Or yeah.
No, I appreciate that. Well, then I've even thought like, okay, I've worried. I'm like, I want my children to know God. I want my children to like each
Mm-hmm.
other and love each
Mm-hmm.
other. Um, and then I've also thought I want I've never wanted to close any doors for them. Like that's been a concern. Like,
Mm-hmm.
am what I'm going to do with them this year, will it close any doors?
Mm-hmm.
Hard shut. Thus far,
Mm-hmm.
nothing has. And I would always, at the beginning, I was worried about college. I'm like, will it
Yeah.
ruin their chance to go to college? Only to realize that
So easy.
it's so easy to get into college. Like
It's
it's a
so easy.
business. It's like
It's
it's
so, I
not.
mean, come on. They accept people in all the time. They know we're not going to graduate. But see, they have a bottom line too. So
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, it's so easy to get, especially if you're smart and you go, well, wait a minute. It's going to cost $1 gazillion to get through a 4-year degree, but we can do cheaper to go to our local college for the
Yep.
general ed, right? And
Mhm.
so you put your kids in general ed at your local college first, and you make sure they're transferable credits.
Yep.
And you do that, then when they go, they can do their 4-year degree, and they've cut off like maybe a third of the price
Yeah.
by doing it that way. And local colleges accept anybody who breathes.
It's true. It's true. So, with the planning for the fall, let's talk about frequency. How often you do things, and then I know some of y'all have questions, which we'll get to questions here in a
Okay.
second because I can see the questions.
So, what I would try to do is not do more than 4 days of really structured work per week.
Mhm.
Because when you're at home, see, okay, in schools, that's all you do is you just do school. And there's a janitor that cleans the floor, and there's a cafeteria lady that serves lunch. Okay, but when you're at home, you're still got a whole life. You've got to run errands, you've got to send packages, you've got to pay bills, you've got to clean, make sure the house is, you can do general clean every day, but you've got to like do the, go and clean out the attic or whatever. You got to have time for these things. And if you're only doing academics with your kids, then you don't have time to take care of their environment. Then everybody, everything falls to pieces. and then you hate homeschooling because you know, sometimes that extra day is just to spend time with your kids and just be people.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, instead of just thinking, oh, I've got to get that math done, you know, just be people for a while. But anyway, so yeah, 4 days a week. And then one day is either for extra cleaning or errands or maybe visiting somebody we just want to visit or just goof off, you
Mhm.
know, like that.
I love it. And then how many hours a day would you generally do the of the school portion that you would do? How many would you do?
Right. So in the morning, we would wake up, we got to do our personal hygiene. We'd always clean the house. I couldn't school in a dirty house. It just didn't happen. So we'd have
Mhm.
to eat breakfast, clean the house. Everybody had their chores. I was not the maid. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they would all have to help. And then we would sit down and my time with them sitting down when we would read together would be either a half an hour or an hour, depending. Um, and then after that, I would be setting the older kids to their stuff, and I would sit down with the little kids and have maybe a 15-minute session for math, a 15-minute session for reading, teaching them reading, or whatever thing that they needed help with. Then I'd have 15 minutes per the little child that was learning for that. Now, with this, if you got like little toddlers, it might be smart to take a little toddler for 15 minutes first, set them down in your lap, play some games, maybe read a book with them, you know, watch Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. So they had mommy. They had mommy,
Mhm.
they had cuddles, they had touches, you know, and then they can go play and they're going to be a little happier than, shh, be quiet, we're doing something. And they're like, when do I get to be seen or heard or
Yeah.
taken care of? So if you do the little kid first and you sit him down and you just like 5 or 10 minutes even is usually, you know, enough.
Mhm.
And that way you can pay attention to everybody else after that. But it's just an idea.
I love that. For us, we do if we do 3 days a week of school, I'm like, that's a success. Well,
Yes.
and I say that
Uh-huh.
because of my kids' enrichment programs,
Oh, yeah.
which I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
that counts as school for
Oh,
them.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then
Absolutely.
and now my 14-year-old has an internship
Ooh.
and that's twice a week. So for him, I'm like, okay, so he's got his enrichment program and his internship, which is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So then
Yes.
he's left with only really 2 strong days of schoolwork. Although even on his internship days, I'm like, you still have to read and write
Yes.
something.
Yes. Yes.
Something.
That's
You have
smart.
to write
Yeah.
something. And so
Yeah.
he's like,
Like for him, maybe just like the reading and whatever math he's got to do
yeah.
because, you know, you got to have the math thing. Yeah. Yeah. I think
Although
that's really smart.
he's my math child who's already done with,
Oh,
like, he hasn't done trig yet and
right.
calculus. Like, those are the only
But
things that he's
But
missing.
he's yeah,
And
so you
he's
don't
6
really
through
have
it.
to
So
worry about it. He can catch that stuff up in college if he goes. You're pretty much done with that part then with him.
yeah, for him, it's he's he's
Mm-hmm.
he's my one, y'all, that you're seeing on the videos, and I haven't released video number 3, but literally, like, he kept looking at me as we were filming, and he's like, and I thought he looked like Jim from The Office. And he was like, "Do I have to do this?" I'm like, "Yes, you have to film." And because we're helping these moms, he's like, "All right, can I get Chick-fil-A twice?" I'm like, "No, you can get Chick-fil-A once this week." But I promised him if the videos did good that he would get a cut of the videos, like some money if we make any money off the videos, that he would get some. But the reason he does the videos, and he's like, "Well, okay, if I'm helping moms, then I'll do it." But he already knows all that math
Yeah,
and all, so
he's a person. He's moving on. He's good
yeah,
to go. Yeah,
he's been a good sport.
yeah,
So yeah, for us, we do 3 days a week, and I'm like, that's
yeah,
great. And then because they've
yeah.
got their other stuff
Mm-hmm.
that they do on
Well,
top
you
of it.
know, when you're homeschooling, it's basically tutoring,
Yeah.
and it's so efficient. You don't have to spend so many hours a day. I mean, it's like eating vitamins. You know,
Mhm.
instead of like eating a whole bunch of creamed corn and hoping you get all. You have to eat a lot of it to get what you need. You know, I mean, you're eating meat every day. You're getting meat.
Yeah.
You know, just an hour of tutoring is worth 6 hours in a
Yeah.
classroom.
That is true. That
You
is
know.
true. One other thing that my 10-year-old asked this year, because in the past we've always set aside one day for doing field trips of some kind and going exciting places like a museum. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and last year we didn't do it just because of how the schedule fell with everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And And both my 14-year-old and my 10-year-old sat down and said, "Can we please do that again? Can we please
Oh,
go places and see
yeah.
the sights, the exciting sights in
Oh,
Colorado Springs?"
oh man, there's so much
So
to see there too.
there is. And so so that's something that I'm like, okay, so I'm gonna have to build this into the schedule, otherwise it's not gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
that's something that we're working on is that. So let's then move, which moves naturally into curriculum choices and how to choose what's best for the kids.
Okay. So what I try to do with curriculum choices is I want to make sure that I'm getting the most out of what I
Mm,
choose. So I don't want stuff with a lot of fluff. I don't like the flash. I don't like, you got 4 books and mom has to take care of 2 of them. The child has 2 books and then you have to do this thing over here and do this. I can't do that. It's crazy. So what I do is I like to choose things like the vintage readers, the
mhm,
vintage math, because they are so straightforward. I mean, they
mhm,
just get to the point. They didn't have, okay, when they did the revised McGuffey readers, there is an actual teacher's guide
mhm.
to the eclectic learning um, schedule, or
Yeah.
I don't know what you call it,
I
collection.
just found that online, by the way. I'm
Yes,
working on converting that.
it's called the Manual of Methods. And in the Manual of Methods, they talk to teachers about different things they can do for their classroom to teach, and how you kind of manage things and how you go about it. But when the original McGuffey's readers were written, there was no such thing. People did not do that. Okay. What they did is they took and they just taught people to read the best they could, and teachers colleges weren't a thing for a
Yeah.
while then. But the thing of it is that that's why they're so straightforward. But they're meant for a person, a mom and a dad at home, to take one of those books and teach with it.
Mhm.
So that's why they have. Sometimes they have the answers right there, like in the Harvey's grammar. The answers for the thing will be written right there. Okay, so because it was meant for people to be able to just open
Mhm.
and go. So that's why I like that too, because they're concentrated. They're like eating meat. They're open and go. I don't have to read a teacher's manual to understand them.
Yeah.
And that's what I go for. I like the vintage stuff above the modern stuff. However,
Same.
there are some exceptions to that, obviously, where like, modern math books that like I like Saxon
Mhm.
for after my kids are done with Rays, I go immediately to Saxon algebra, but that's not for everybody. I understand that. But my kids did well with that. But the thing of it is that I think that you just have to make sure that you don't fall for the flash,
Yeah.
the colors and the promises, and and also whatever people are touting, influencers on YouTube, on Instagram, people get paid to do
Mhm.
they say they're not being biased, okay, but if you receive a beautiful
Mhm.
color book and it costs $300 and you got it for free, I guarantee you're going to be a little more positive about it. We talk about it, because you're blown away that you got this for free. All right.
Yep.
But uh, so I don't. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna no, it's true. And well, and what I've found too, like is that a lot of the modern curriculum is like we've talked about this before, like there's so much stuff and fluff and extra to it.
Mhm.
And I don't know if it's because there's this attitude of, well, if it has more pages, that means it's better or they can charge more. I don't know. But after discovering the vintage curriculum, I'm like, this is so straightforward and it's so simple and it's so
Mhm.
easy. And
Mhm.
actually at the beginning I thought it was hard because I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Wait,
Mhm.
the instructions are like
Yes,
literally right there. Have
on
them
the
count
page.
the objects. I don't need a teacher's instructions for that. Like if I
Mm-mm.
really just look at it,
Mhm.
it's telling me exactly what to do. That surprised me a little bit. But it took me a minute because I'm
Mhm.
like, I can't do. Oh yes, I can. They're
Yeah.
pretty instructions.
You
But
kind of.
go
I
ahead.
think you also have to understand the framework that everybody was under during that time, so they all kind of understood
Mhm.
what was supposed to go on, which we've lost because we do have all the teachers' manuals. But one reason I think that everything we have for kids is so bloated, and every classroom teacher knows that you never get to everything in a
Mhm.
textbook. When I was a kid, we never finished a textbook. Okay. We never did every suggestion in there. But I think the reason they're so bloated is because these books are not made by a person who decided to write a book to help kids. These were made by committees where they said, this is what the kids should cover, this X, Y, and Z. And if you don't include that in your textbook, we're not going to buy it. But see, have you ever been on a committee?
I have. I've actually
Okay.
been on a
Yes.
textbook committee. Yeah. Yes, I
Oh,
have.
you have. So
I
you know
have.
that everybody's got to have their little finger in the pie. Even if
Mhm.
it's not even important, they'll feel important because they said something. So you've got to include that too. So after a while, you just have stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks of things in these textbooks that aren't necessary because it's not really about teaching kids. It's about adults feeling important when they made the book.
Well, and I do have to clarify. So when I was still teaching in public school,
Mhm.
they wanted to adopt new books for our. I was a theater teacher, so I was middle
Okay.
school theater, middle school and secondary ed.
Mhm.
So they pulled all of the middle school theater teachers in our district, and we went for several days and reviewed all of the textbooks and which ones
okay.
did we want to adopt as a district.
Right.
And I remember saying to the committee chair, well, what's wrong with the textbooks that we have? I mean, the ones that we have work perfectly fine. He goes, well, because we get to get new ones every few
Yeah.
years. Like that was the answer. And I was like, okay, cool.
And
You know, I didn't.
if they don't buy them, then they'll say, "Oh, I guess you didn't need extra
Right, you didn't
money
need
for
the
this. We'll
money.
just cut off the money." Yeah, so that's a lot of the. I mean, John Taylor Gatto talks about that. That happens all the time, not just with textbooks, but with all kinds of equipment too. Like you might have a perfectly working something or other, but it ends up in the trash because if you don't buy new ones, then they'll cut your budget.
Right, right. Well, and still what baffled me is I was like, the information has not changed. It's the
Mm-mm.
same information. And so we got new textbooks.
Mm.
And every few anyway, so I found that
When I
interesting.
was talking about the committees, I was talking about the committees who
The
actually
big,
write the books.
yeah,
Write
the
the
big
books.
committees.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been. No one's asked my
Yeah.
opinion on those.
Oh no, I
So-
don't know who does. Who is that anyway?
It's a good question. I don't know who puts it together with each publisher, but
Yeah, it's
I've
interesting.
been looking at the various authors and those
Interesting.
reviewers of the book. So that's been
Mhm.
fun to go down that rabbit hole. That will be for another video, another time.
Video. Yes, another time.
Let's talk about just a little bit about, and y'all, I promise I see lots of questions. So, daily and home organization throughout the year, which I have to chuckle because my very first year of homeschooling, my friend said, if she has 8 kids and her husband's a teacher, so they have a very limited salary, but she homeschools her kids.
Mhm.
And she said, if I could tell you, if you could invest in one thing as a homeschooling mom, it's to get a cleaner to come clean once a week.
Mhm.
So she's like, that's the one regret that I've had over the last 20 years. Is I wish we would have gotten a clean.
Someone would have cleaned.
But
yeah, well,
so let's talk about home organization for a second.
okay. So it's just when you have a lot of kids and you're trying to homeschool, then you can't have a lot of junk because the more junk you have, the more things you have to shuffle around, the more things you have to do. So minimalism works for homeschool moms. Amy Marion, I think some of your listeners may know of her. She talked about when she had a lot of little kids when they were all really tiny, she didn't even put pictures on the walls because her house was stripped down to simplicity, and she didn't have money to get cleaners or anything. But that's just because you and it's just a season, right? Yeah. But you go through these seasons where you have to realize that you have to simplify everything else in your life so that you can concentrate on the main things because if you try to have a perfectly decorated house and you're trying to homeschool your kids at the same time, something's going to have to give, but I'm this way. My husband's this way. We can't concentrate if the house is dirty. So I put my kids were the cleaning team, and I do not apologize for that. And I think they're better adults for it. And I personally, I think the biggest part of homeschooling is life application. I think living every day and learning how to function, like how to wash clothes, how to feed yourself, cook for people, do all those things. I think that is the biggest part of homeschooling. And I think that public school can't touch that. And that's why people graduate and they say, I don't know how to boil water. You know, John Taylor Gatto was talking to a bunch of PhD, people that were going for their PhDs in college. And he was talking to them about this different way. It's called guerrilla education, where you kind of sneak up and, teach things kid they don't realize it. So anyway, you talked about guerrilla, and they said, listen, this is one question that I have. I'm going to have a PhD and I still don't know how to change the tire on my car. So having an organized and clean house, I think that even if you have wonderful plans for all your academics, put them aside until you get your house in order, until you get your kids to where they'll listen to you and do what you ask them to. We had drills. Okay, go down the stairs and I will call you, and then you come immediately. Because when you have that many kids, it's like, hey, you come, and you might have half an hour later. Oh, so you can't do that. Yeah. But anyway, so that is like the found for me. Okay, not everybody's the same. Some people, it's okay. I'm all right with that. But for me, I had to have a clean house. I had to have things in order, or else I couldn't sit there and talk and teach my kids.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think that's important. And meals are a big deal, because you have to, if you're going to school in the morning, you have to stop everything to make the food, to eat the food, to clean up the food. That's an hour out of your day. And if you're trying to teach so much in a day, then you've got to automate that a little bit. What we did for a while is we did lunch boxes. So like the night before, I would pack, as if the kids were going to school, I would pack them a little lunch, and we'd stack them in the refrigerator. And that way we didn't have to stop to make to do. The kids could just go when they were hungry, just grab their little sandwich or whatever, or leftovers, whatever's in there, and then they could eat, and it didn't interrupt anything. It didn't stop anything. So that's something we did.
I love that.
That helped.
That's for us. I found, and it's become a favorite lunch for us, is charcuterie boards.
Oh yeah.
And okay, so I do have to
yes.
clarify this, because I joined a Facebook page called Charcuterie Masterclass or something. I can't remember the name of it. And I posted that, I'm taking this charcuterie board to my daughter's forest school for her birthday. And I showed a picture of it, and I was massacred by people. They're like, that is not a charcuterie board. A charcuterie board is only aged meats and cheeses. That's a cracker board. And I'm like, okay, I am getting out of this. So I call it a charcuterie board. Apparently it's not,
whatever.
but
it's a snack tray.
Tray that has cheese and crackers and grapes and their strawberries and their favorite things.
That's right.
And that's something that I just have it all in, and we just kind of dump it down, and then
there you go.
Everybody eats, and they can just nibble at it throughout the rest of the afternoon.
And that's my daughter. She does the same thing, just what you're talking about. They have a special name for it, but she just plops down like some stuff you can just put together. And that's what they have. I forget what she calls it, but that's what she does with her kids. She has 4.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's, well, and I think you also bring up an interesting point, like with laundry. I've come under scrutiny because my kids learn at age 6-ish how to do their own laundry. And I remember when my husband and I first got married and I took on my 2 kids, people had given my husband was a single dad. For a long time, and people would give him clothes for the boys. So when we got married, there was and I kid you not, I remember looking in their closet, and there was 10 bins of clothes.
Yes.
And one day I loaded up our minivan completely with all of the laundry, and we used up every single washing machine. And I sat there in the laundromat crying because because it was, number one, it was so expensive, but number 2, there was just so much. And I told my husband, I'm like, I can't keep up with all of this. And so we made a rule that, so we did a garage sale, and I laid out, they chose their favorite things. So they each got one laundry basket and filled the laundry basket. And once it was filled, that was it. They didn't get any more. And then they had one church outfit, and that was it. And then we had a garage sale, and it was all you could carry for a quarter. And just to get rid of, because I was like, I'm not taking this Goodwill. I want it gone.
Yes.
And so, but then I was like, no, our kids are going to learn how to do their own laundry at a young age. They
Mm-hmm.
will learn how to treat stains.
Mm-hmm.
They'll learn this because I'm one
Mm-hmm.
person and I can't keep up
Mm-hmm.
on all of the
Mm-hmm.
laundry. And my kids are
Mm-hmm.
really, really good about doing their laundry, and they still
Mm-hmm.
have a laundry basket. And
Yes.
once it's filled up, then that's
Mm-hmm.
it.
That's smart. That's
Um,
smart. That's really good. Yeah. Because
so
you got to simplify your life in order to do all we want to do. And you do a
right.
lot of activities, and there's just no way you're going to be able to handle all
Handle
that.
no, and so
No.
the kids have to pull their weight.
Yep.
So I mean
Mm-hmm. And
that's
that will bless them for the rest of their lives. My kids know, like they'll go to work, and they'll be like working because they're used to working, and it just
mhm.
seems natural. And these kids will go, "Oh, I don't know," and they're like this one guy. My daughter worked at Sam's Club, the food court, and this guy says, "You know what? When I grow up, I'm going to be a president. I'm going to be the president of the United States because they told me I could be anything I want to be." Well, can you take out the trash?
Let's start there.
Let's start with that.
Let's start there. All right, let's go over the one room schoolhouse, also known as multiple children of varying ages.
Right. Okay, so I kind of have talked about this a little bit already. I think I actually I'm looking at my
Yeah,
notes.
you
I think
did.
I
You
did on my
talked about
notes.
it. You talked about taking the
Okay.
youngest and
Right.
snuggling them so that they get
Mhm.
their nourishment from
Get their
mom before they go play.
nourishment. And then and then with little kids, because they will need to be entertained a little bit.
Mhm.
What you can do is you can have either special, the special bins, like take out one of those plastic shoe boxes, maybe 3 or 4 of them, and do themes. Like in one you can put paper dolls, in another you can put like how you take those coloring books and you just use water, and
Mhm.
and then in
Yep.
another one you can have Legos, or in another one, something that they don't play with normally, though, something that's only special for school time. And you take one of those boxes down, and with your toddlers or little preschool people, then you sit them down with that, and then they play with that while you're reading aloud. It's something
Mhm.
quiet that keeps them busy while you need some time where you need time with your older kids. And you switch it up so they don't get bored with something, and you put that up to where they cannot have access unless you're doing that. That makes it special. So that's something you can do with them. So then you want to sit around with everyone, and you want to engage your little kids as much as possible, but then they're allowed to go and play if they get
Yeah.
really bored with sitting there. Then you want to do some Bible. Now, Bible you can approach all kinds of different ways. Sometimes um, for little kids, you just go into the Bible and pick out just the stories, like Noah's Ark, and you want to just read that story, but you read it directly from the Bible. This is a Charlotte Mason idea too,
Hmm.
is that you don't have to get the Bible story book. You can just read the stories from the Bible. And like if you use an NIV, there's no these and thous and stuff like that. Kids can understand that. Kids really are very spiritually aware,
Mhm.
and they're very more open than adults are. So you can read these stories directly from the Bible, and they will get it. They will be interested. For your older children, you can take a chapter at a time and split it up to how many people can read, and people will take turns reading aloud that chapter, and then you can have a discussion. Ta-da! The end. You don't need a whole curriculum for it. You can just do it. And if you guys have questions, see, if there's a question like, what does this mean? Then that's when you go into your Bible app and you look things up and you all learn together. So there's Bible. Ta-da. And so that's helping all the little people and the big people. I'm getting off on a rabbit trail. I'm trying to recover myself. Anyway, so then after that, then you're going to have your read aloud time, whatever novel you can read, poetry or a novel, whatever. And then after that, what's the math? So then that's when if you have older kids, they're sitting down and doing their math. You have math with your little kids, and you're helping them. And then after that, you can go have your older kids just go on autopilot. Like with McGuffey readers, I just say, okay, just do the next thing in your McGuffey reader. They sit down there doing that. You're working with reading with the little kids, phonics. Maybe if you're doing a little bit of spelling, for some kids they need it, not everybody. But then, and also, you might be helping them with their handwriting, the beginning handwriting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we use Spencerian with our kids.
Interesting. Okay.
And so, while the little kids, like I also use the McGuffey script as well, but really we relied on Spencerian, and you can just set your kids down and have them do that. You don't have to help them. It's very,
Yeah.
self-instructive, and everybody loved it. And some of my kids, they still write with Spencerian penmanship. Not everybody; some of them are rebelled, but I have a bunch of kids, and they write with perfect Spencerian penmanship. It's gorgeous, gorgeous stuff. But anyway, so that's a lot. You can do a lot of autopilot stuff with your kids. My gentle grammar that I use, it's based on some vintage grammar. That's autopilot, and it's for little kids, but it's still autopilot. Um, there's all kinds of stuff you can do, and that gives you time to work with then the ones that need it most. And let's say that, okay, so you got your little kids done and you got your older kids, they're sitting at the table. Maybe you want to postpone math for them till this time, because if they're working through algebra or etc., you want to be available to answer the questions and help them. You also want to be looking over their shoulder, like if you've got somebody who isn't quite on, you know, isn't quite working with you and they'd rather be doing something else and they have a rotten attitude. So they might be cheating, maybe copying the answers. So you want to be like looking over their shoulder. I would sit everybody we had this huge dining room table, and I have pictures of this. And I would be sitting at the head of the table, and I would have my littlest person next to me. I would have them closest to me on either side. Then as they went down, they got older. We had a long table. It was like 10-foot table. And so everybody would be going, and then the oldest people at the very end of the table, because they wouldn't hardly need me. And then I would be helping the little ones, then checking in on like that. And so that's one way that I was able to handle everybody. Also, excuse me, I wanted to talk. Is that okay? Okay. Do you have another question? Because I don't want to be just running on.
No.
Okay.
I do want to interject really
Sure.
quickly. 'Cause that's something that you brought up earlier in the
Mm-hmm.
conversation that I found. If I chose things for the kids to do that all required me to be involved, I got burned out really fast. I had to have a nice
Yes.
balance of they can do
Mm-hmm.
this, they are capable of doing these things on their own,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll need me for this, and then they can flip flop.
Yes. Yes,
So,
exactly. Exactly. That's yeah, that's how we have to think of it.
hmm
And so anyway, some things that you can use that will help you keep track of everybody. And excuse me, something that I use that was it's just really basic. I mean, you've got it. You got a stack of index cards, right? So what I see, I would split things up for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. In your case, it'd be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or the 3 days we like Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. However, you work that out. And I would have an index card for each day of the week, and I would staple them together. And I would have each child had their own stack of index cards, and they would know on Monday, well, this is what I have to do. I have to do
oh, I love
read
that.
McGuffey's lesson, do math, do this, and I have that for person. Then Tuesday might be just slightly different, but I'd write it down. And in the Army, we did this. It was called an SOP, or a standard operating procedure. So I said, kids, here's your SOPs, because I was in the Army and that's what they do. So anyway, so then they would have this card, and on Monday they knew that they had to do these things, and then they would flip it for Tuesday, right? And I would have like a little thing in the middle of the table, so every day they returned those cards to that little bucket or whatever in the middle of the table, and then the next day they would come and they would know exactly what they were supposed to do for that day. Or I would number it like 1, 2, 3, and 4 in case we got something that messed us up. And so we'd go to the next day when we got back together. And that way they knew what they were supposed to do. And there weren't questions like, Mom, what am I supposed to do next? What do I do now? Because that'll drive you crazy. So
Right.
you have to have a little bit of a plan. Also, you could do this with just a spiral notebook.
Yep.
And
Love that.
you could just have it written on the different days, like this is what you're supposed to do. Here's your spiral notebook, refer to this, right? Of course, you have to have readers to do that. So with the little kids, I actually did use symbols for the little kids.
Hmm.
Like if they weren't reading yet, like I'd have a book. Like here's then you're supposed to read. You're supposed to practice your reading now, or whatever. So you could do that too. Um, Also, something that kept me on track was just having a stack of books. Having something physical reminds me of what I need to do next. So if I have a book, like I have my Bible, and I have our read aloud, and I have whatever else we're doing, and I have a book in a basket. For some reason, that helped me to stay on track because I can get off track really easily. So that's something I also did that helped.
And can I interject with
Sure.
back to when you were talking about like you could do a spiral notebook or note cards? I
Mm-hmm.
buy my kids a plan. They each get their own planner every year that has
Ah,
like
yeah.
the days divided up, like it's
Wow.
a
Yeah.
week long, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
write at the beginning of the week what they need to do on their academic days.
That's
And then on
smart.
their non-academic days, I write, their enrichment program, and that enables me to keep the state standard of
Yes.
tracking
Mm-hmm.
attendance as well. And they can
Right.
just check it off, and I can go, if the state were to ever knock on my
Yes.
door and be like, "Where is your attendance?" I'd be like,
Oh,
here it
looky
is.
here. Ha ha
I
ha
have it right here.
ha.
So anyway,
Yeah, that's smart. And you can get those. You can go to like the Dollar Tree and get those like for $1.25.
yeah,
They.
I buy them at the beginning of the year
Mm-hmm.
from Walmart for like, I don't know, like $5. And so I'm
Right.
like, here
Right.
you are,
Yeah.
here's the rest of the year. Sometimes
Yeah.
you can get them for a year and a half, and those
Those
that's
are pretty good.
that's
Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, you
pretty
can get
great.
them for really cheap. And I love planners. I like have 300 planners, and I only use one.
Same. That's this one right here. And
Okay, I am addicted. I confess.
now we're gonna start. Okay. Anyway, I interrupted you. Please continue.
Oh, I think I was pretty much done. So let's do some questions, maybe.
Yes, let's do. So I'm going to go back up some early questions that happened. So if you have questions, this is the time, and hopefully we answer some of this. It's fun to see where everyone is. Okay, my kiddo is delayed with speech, and we just finished our second grade year. My kiddo has thrived with arithmetic this year, but we're chugging along with reading. My kiddo's progressed and become fluent. Ooh, excellent job!
Good.
That's Twisted Peach Tree. So that was comment. I love that. Did we already do it? I think we did that one. Okay. Okay, not really a part of planning for the next year, but what would be your top 2 or 3 books? This is from Jessica Wilds that were formative in explaining early education versus education now. Now, are we talking about like historically what's different between modern education?
I think that
Is that the question?
I think that's what the question is. That's what it sounds like anyway.
John, my first recommendation is the John Taylor Gatto Underground History of American Education or the U.S. education. What is it?
I actually got that book when it was not actually out for publication. I have
kidding.
I have it was a
have the
proof
big copy?
book. I like have it was before it was that was in 1999. I
Was
think.
it the big one?
Yeah, it's that one.
Which this one is harder to find now. The other one I have is much smaller.
But you can read it online for free on Internet Archive.
Yeah, which is super cool.
Yes, and oh yeah, absolutely. That helped me to start delving into the historicity of what schooling used to look like and why. But then I've read lots of things since to kind of help formulate how I think about it. But yeah, that was definitely he's the dude. And then because a lot of people know that there's something very wrong, and they all talk about what's very wrong, but they don't understand. I mean, people think, well, it turned bad in the 90s. No.
That's what surprised me is I thought, oh yeah, it's been the last 20 years. I'm like, oh, and then when I started delving, I'm like, oh, we're well over 130 years worth of garbage, and then some.
Yeah.
So.
It's really interesting. I get people on my channel all the time. I'll talk about, how they used to be able to read and write and stuff like that. And they'll say, well, when I was in school in the the 19, whatever it is. Yeah, we actually learned. I'm like, yeah, that's okay. I appreciate you probably did better than today, but still, man, it was still messed up. I know, because I was there. So I'm actually old enough to have still used the Dick and Jane books.
Which I found reprints of those at Costco several years ago, and I'm like, oh, this is so exciting! I'm going to use these.
But
and I actually
until you look into it and you realize that was part of the dumbing down. I know. It's like, But anyway, you have to really look into it. And anyway, so go for the next question, because I could talk for a year. And I don't want to do that. We only have a few minutes, and people are going to ask questions.
Something important I was going to say when we were discussing like the one room, like what do you do with multiple kids? Okay, so y'all, my husband's grandma turns 103 on Monday, and she, so we were talking to her on Sunday, and I asked her, I'm like, okay, Grandma, I'm going to do this live, which she's like, that means nothing to me,
right?
Gotcha. And I said, what did you do? How did your teacher teach in your one-room schoolhouse in the 20s? Because she was born in 1923. And she said, well, there's 25 of us and we all were in desks. And she would say, okay, first graders, come up. And we would go up, and then she would teach us the things, but all of us could hear everything. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Yeah.
And she goes,
Okay.
okay, now you go work on the assignment that you need to work on and
Mm-hmm.
practice your reading. And now the next group, second graders, come up. And she goes, that's
Mm.
how we did it. And we all
Yeah.
heard everything that was being taught all of the time.
Right.
And then
Right.
there was some lessons they would do all together, like geography.
Right.
They would talk about all together, and
Right.
history. So I thought
Yeah.
that was interesting. I was
It
like,
is.
oh. So,
That
and I
make
said, well, and I asked her, I said, well, what about if somebody was behind? And she's like, oh, I don't remember. They'd probably just sit with the younger kids. I don't remember. And I'm like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
that's fair.
Well, because I know that she was using the first grader thing and first and second and third and fourth, because by that time they were already doing that. But
Mhm.
at a certain point, it wasn't according to grades. It was like, okay, if you're in the first book, sit in here with us. Like if you're in the primer, if you're 19 years old and
Yep.
you're in the primer, sit in this group, right? Because it was
Right.
according to your ability and not according to your age grade.
Right.
Right.
Well, and she couldn't remember because she's like, I'm trying to remember. She's like, no, I just remember her calling students up, and she goes, but I thought it was by grade, but again, by the 20s, they were dividing up into grades, right? And
Mm-hmm,
then she's like,
mm-hmm,
but
mm-hmm.
everybody heard all of the things. We all
So they
heard.
So they're learning. So the little
Right.
kids are listening to all the older kids' stuff. So
Mhm.
by the time it comes into them, they know this stuff
Right.
because they've heard it over and over and over again.
Right. So
Yeah,
anyway.
and also back then, they used the older kids used to help tutor the younger kids, because
Mhm.
when you have 25 students, it's different. When you have only, like, for me, I think at the max I had 8 or 9 kids that I was actively teaching at the same time. I didn't feel comfortable having my older kids teach my younger kids. Very rarely did I do that. For one thing, I liked having that time with my little kids. They might help with, like keeping the little kids out of trouble, like watching them and stuff, but I didn't have them actively teach them. But I know that's something they used to do in the one-room schoolhouses.
Well, and I've had my older kids read with with Kara, my youngest, when she
Mm-hmm.
was learning to read, and I was trying to
Mm-hmm.
work with Jacob on something. One of
Right.
my my middle kids is actually what they are, but
Mm-hmm.
my older homeschooling kids would sit, and I was like, "Can
Yeah.
you just sit and read with her for a minute?"
Yeah.
And they would.
Absolutely. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. So fun times.
The six new messages I'm.
Yes. Okay. So here we go. So we're running out of time. Boy, mom here. My kiddo will be third grader next year. Any sample selections for him for the next school year? What would you say, Sherry? Third grade.
Okay.
That's 8.
So
turning 9.
what do they want to have?
They want to do. My kiddo will be a third grader next year. Any
Okay.
sample selections for him for the next school year?
What is a sample selection?
Sample selections. Are you meaning like what subjects he should do, or this is Twisted Peach Tree?
Okay.
If you want to specify, let's see. Twisted Peach Tree goes in.
I'm not sure what a sample selection would be, but one thing you could do for an 8th grade boy is I wouldn't really worry too much about the close academics at his age. I was kind of schooled in educational philosophy by someone by the name of Dr. Raymond Moore, and you can still find his books. He wrote the book Better Late Than Early, which goes into depth about how especially young boys are not ready for close book work until the ages of 8 to 10. And when my grandmother was my grandmother is the same age as your husband's grandmother. She was born in 1923 too. So my grandmother told me that in her one-room schoolhouse, nobody went to school until they were 7 or 8.
Yeah, that's my husband's grandma said. She goes, we were 6 or 7. She goes, we were
Yeah.
old enough to walk by ourselves.
Mm-hmm. But you couldn't. But see, the thing is, we expect kids to learn things and sit still all day when they're not ready to do that, especially boys. Boys need time to wiggle and move and do things. And also, in that book by Dr. Raymond Moore, what he talks about is how the myelin sheathing on children's nervous systems aren't even complete until they're 8 or 10 years old. So their nervous systems aren't ready. Their eyes are not developed enough to sit and read close book work. So when we force kids, especially when they are late bloomers and they're just not ready for it, we're actually doing damage to them. So anyway, that's something that I'm a proponent of. So a child who's 8 years old, if you're reading aloud to them, you're engaging them in life, and you're paying attention to them, and you're doing things with them, you don't have to worry about close book work. About his age is when you can start requiring him to be writing and doing different things.
I was going to say, and she at Twisted Peachtree, she clarified curriculum at 8. Like as far as like grammar and writing, just doing like a sentence of copy work is more than enough for like writing.
Exactly.
Arithmetic, Ray's new primary or Ray's practical.
Yeah, Ray's practical would probably be a good place.
Would be, because at that point is in 3rd grade. So and I'm coming from the public school system, so I still mentally go.
I know it's so hard. I can't even imagine, especially since you're a teacher. This must seem like, whoa, this is foreign.
The adjustment was terrible. I'll be honest, it was terrible, but I'm happy now, so it's all good.
Yeah, it's all good.
So and then for reading, pick reading that is at his level. Sometimes we go, I want them to be reading here and reading this, but they're not there. So if they're struggling reading, I'd even go back a couple levels so that they start to gain confidence in the reading and their reading abilities. So like maybe they can't do chapter books yet. Well, read Piggy and Gerald then with them. And then the McGuffey readers go back a couple levels for them.
Yes.
So
because you don't want them to be so frustrated they hate learning.
Right.
If you give them something, you might feel really good and like be able to brag about it. But if they hate it, then they're never going to read a novel in their life. A lot of boys these days, they don't want to read a novel anyway. And if you give them something that's really frustrating, they're going to associate their frustrated feelings with reading. And they're just and later on, if you make it so fun or easy, I don't want to say easy. I want to say they feel good about what they can. They feel good that they have confidence that they can read at their level. Then eventually they're going to feel confident to read on their own.
Yeah.
And then you don't have to push anymore. You don't have to require things. They're reading more stuff than you thought they would.
Yeah, it's true. How often should I update my son's special education plan during his freshman year of high school? So the great thing about homeschooling is you're with him and you see how he's doing. And so you make adjustments as you need to, as you go.
That's right.
Especially with IEPs.
Yeah. So that's why I would only do 6 weeks to 3 months at a time, because also some kids, they just really crawl, but they're consistent, right? That some kids, like they'll be like, you think nothing's going on. All of a sudden they'll make these huge leaps, right? And so if you have a whole year's worth of curriculum planned out for this person, then maybe they think, oh, that's awful. I can do so much better than that. So you have to you spend all this money, and all this time, and it's a waste. So if you do only 6 weeks to 3 months at a time, you're better able to adapt to what your child is going to need next.
Yeah, it's true. At School Homeschool, what is your thoughts on the Pupil's Own Vocabulary Speller by Macmillan Company? I am not familiar with that, so I'll have to look it up. So I have no opinions at this point because I'm not familiar with it.
There is so much out there.
Yeah, there is. There is over 7,300 homeschool curricula out there. I learned from Tina Hollenbeck of the Homeschool Loft podcast. She told me that and I was like, what?
Wow.
So many.
Oh, man.
See other questions. I'm trying to find the questions. I'm looking. I think I'm not seeing other questions. I have lots of beautiful comments.
Oh, that's good. Oh, here's something. Let's see. I see something. How are you so gentle with your children? You sound so graceful and gentle. I
don't think you're talking to me.
I can't seem to make school fun or be gentle while homeschooling, working full time. Well, bless your heart. You've got a lot going on there. When do you start to be more rigorous? Okay. So as far as, I have something that I do and I would put on my mean mommy. Okay. So I can be mean mommy, but I would try to reserve that for when I'm getting them to do the things of life. Like be really strict. You have to get this done. If you get this done, then there are going to be consequences, dearie. Okay. So I was not completely gentle with my children. They can attest to this. Okay. But when we sat down to do schooling, that's when the gentleness came out, because I want them to associate happy mommy, good times with learning. And I used all the like, get your, what are you doing over there? Okay, I know how to do that. Okay, but I try to associate the good, sweet, wonderful mommy with learning, and the get your stuff done child with everything else in their lives. And I think it worked out well that way. But if you're working part time, I mean, it's hard. I know
Yeah.
that it is, but you've got to somehow try to do that. I believe that it will be a blessing. I'm going to go to the very, very basics of why we get frustrated with our kids with schooling. And I think it has to do with our own fears. Okay. We see these kids, we only have so many years with our kids. We think if they don't get this stuff done like everybody expects them to do, then something bad is going to happen to them, and it's all my fault. So you're going to have to do this, mister, because I'm afraid for you. And if you don't do this, then you have to do this, right? And it may be all the wrong things, maybe all the right things, but if we have to take care of our own fears before we can actually be free to be gentle with our kids. I think
That's beautiful.
yeah.
24 A range says we are coming out of, where was it? We're coming out of a classical school, 8 and 12. They read a lot and are so burned out. So this change of pace they will benefit from. But what do you recommend that I can do to keep them motivated? As you're in the deschooling process, let their minds rest.
Yes.
They're tired.
Amen.
They're tired,
Amen.
and it might take a few months. So do the bare
Yep.
minimum. Like even I would even say just focus on reading aloud. And if like one of them was like,
Yes.
no, but I love math or I love this, then give them some things that they might like. I
Right.
do know one
Yes.
family I worked with. They're like, the daughter's like, I do love worksheets. I'm like, great. I told mom get her some
Yeah.
worksheets.
Yes.
Like she loves them, but
Yes.
but especially classical of all of the
yes.
philosophies is the most rigorous.
Mhm.
And for some schools, for some kids, it's really exhausting. And so
Yes.
allow a lot of deschooling time where you
Yes.
are learning in fun ways, like you watch a documentary together, or you're doing really gentle nature study by observing nature and playing a lot.
That's so smart.
Especially 8 and 12, just slow it down.
Oh,
way
yeah.
down.
Yes. Oh, I think that is so wise. You have learned a lot. You are so wise. It's great.
Thank you. I think I learned the hard way. And as far as I do have to say, I am not a gentle parent at all.
Me neither.
At all. But I laugh a lot with my kids. Like we have a great time. But when when it's time, I'm like,
yes,
you are going to get this done. Like you don't get a choice in this matter. I will be gentle and gracious, but you have responsibilities to get done. Now get them done.
And that's just parenting. That's just parenting. Okay. I mean, the gentle parenting, let's just be parents. Okay. Yeah. Parents have to do tough things. They have to say, no, you're not going past this. We have to. Yeah. And if we don't, guess what? We're not parenting. What we're trying to do is we're trying to win a popularity contest. And that does not help kids. It doesn't help them if we're just trying to be friends with them.
Right.
Or don't you like me? Aren't I a good mommy? If they hate me, as long as I know I'm doing what's right for them, that's okay.
They need kids need boundaries. Oh, there we go. Okay, we are at 3:03, so we are out of time. Sherry, do we want to talk about what we've been discussing or wait?
It's up to you. I mean, I'm
okay
open. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we might not be too specific because we got to iron out the details.
Yeah, it's true. Okay. If y'all want to hear, we have something that we've been toying around with for the last few weeks. And that is that we think we want to do a mom's retreat for a couple days, like in person, not online, like in person. We're in 2 different states, so we'd have to figure out all the details. And I know there's a million homeschooling mom retreats, but our focus would be vintage curricula and nourishing the mom's soul and like practical hands-on, like how do you do certain things? Like how does this work? So as well as theory. So we wanted to gauge, like, would there be interest if we were to do a mom's retreat? I don't know. So that's something that we've been toying around with. And then the other thing that we're toying with, do you want to say what it is? About the live streams?
Oh, yeah. Well, we're going to trade off live streams. So this is our first time that we've gone live together or separately. We've never done this. But we're thinking of like this month, Janae is hosting the live, and then next month on my channel, that I would host the live and she would come on as my guest, and we would trade off. And we're open to maybe you guys suggesting things we could talk about specifically if you just want us to goof off and be silly. No, I'm kidding. No. So,
easily do that.
So, you guys could have input for that as well.
So that's what we have. That's what we're like in the works. That's what we're discussing the last few weeks. So anyway, mamas and papas, grandmas and grandpas, thank you so much for coming on today. Sherry, thank you for coming on and sharing all your wisdom with us. Once again, I love talking to you, and I love your channel, and I love
I love you, Janae. If you guys don't know, Janae is like the sweetest person to talk to, and this is in real life too, not just
you are very kind. Sherry, well, it's the same for you, Sherry. Like what you see with Sherry is what you get, and it's so fun, and she's so encouraging, and just anyway. But thank you, Sherry.
Yes.
And moms and papas, grandmas and grandpas, you are doing so much better than you think you are. You got
you
this.
are. That's right.
We'll talk again soon. So,
bye bye.
Bye bye, guys.
I think we're still live.
I think we are still live. End session for everyone. Okay, I think that's how it works. No, wait. Okay, just a minute. Guys, sorry, I'm figuring this